Hey, how's it going? Thank you guys for stopping by, checking out my YouTube page, checking out my YouTube channel. I have a special guest speaker today. We're going to go over some topics, so I'm just going to give her a second to kind of introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, my name is Valeria, also known as V. I am the owner of Mac of Sales and HustleHub.club. You can look us up at macofsales.com and HustleHub.club. Thank you for having me here today, Rick.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and post a link to her YouTube channel, as well as her website in the comments, and I'll also have it posted up in the description. And you're going to see from now on my YouTube page, on the top right hand corner, you'll actually see a link directly to her YouTube channel, or kind of showcasing her YouTube channel, so to speak. She's newer to YouTube, but not new to the business. So kind of taking her under my wing to get her introduced on YouTube. But she's really knowledgeable as far as the whole garment industry. So we're going to do a video on the pros and cons of DTGs. So we're going to first go over the pros and then kind of hit the cons. So you're going to see us kind of interject. And the whole idea of these videos, of these collaborative videos, is that you get differences of opinion, not just, I know I always say Rick's 2 cents, right? But if you're getting somebody else who's in the industry, who's in the business, that has a difference of opinion, you can see two sides of the story. Maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you'll agree with her, or maybe it's a mediocre between the two. But that's the point, you know. So you want to go with the first one?
Sure thing. Yeah. So let's go over some pros on DTG and kind of, let's start off with the high quality print and what you think in regards the outcome after printing, running a print.
Yeah, so as far as my opinion on the high quality print, the DPI, or the high resolution, is like almost unmatched. I think when you're doing this, the problem is that other options, you get fallout colors. Like for instance, if you're taking a picture that had like multiple sets of blues or multiple sets of something, and you're doing a silk screen, you'd have to primarily choose one of those blues. So you're gonna lose that. So that's a big difference. And with a DTG, it's literally like you're printing a picture on a piece of paper. So it's what you see is what you get, right? So I mean, the grains in my face, this light, how it's hitting me, that's going to be something that you're actually going to see on a DTG print, when you really could mimic that on other types of prints.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I strongly agree. And there's no comparison to the detail that you do get from DTG.
Yeah. So second topic is, can you pro is you can print low quantities. I'm sorry. When it comes to like silk screens, there's a big setup time. And some people, like the shirt that's behind you, the self-paid. If I was to do that in silk screen, it could take me 45 minutes to an hour setting up my screens. I gotta clean my screen. I gotta put the emulsion on it. I gotta dry it, and then I gotta burn my image into it, and then I gotta clean that back out, and then I gotta put it on my press, and then I gotta line up the shirt, and then I gotta be careful, because am I gonna have the screen this way, or am I gonna have the screen this way, because I'm printing that in an extra large up to a 6X, and that makes a huge difference. So now I gotta think ahead of how am I gonna set that screen up so that the image isn't small.
And after saying all that, Rick, let's not forget that is just a one color press.
Right.
One color.
Right. Print. Right. So when it comes to DTG, if somebody came to you and said that they wanted they only wanted 2 or 4 or even 1, that it's something that you could actually do, that I think is not unreasonable amount of your time. You're gonna have to do some photoshopping, maybe some Illustrator work, but it's a lot more feasible, to do it that way versus a silk screen, for that type of print.
Right. That's right. Okay, another one of the topics that I'm gonna go ahead and go over is easy setups. So DTG is a little bit, different. Obviously, one of the first things that we do to set up our, if we're gonna go ahead and print a shirt, whether it be white or black, we're gonna pre-treat the T-shirt. So that means we're gonna put it through a conveyor, pre-treat it, sprays over the shirt. We pull it right out. Then we're gonna have to heat press it so it cures the shirt. After we heat press it and cure the shirt, we're gonna go ahead and throw it on the platform. The platform is about 13 by 14 inches, I believe. And so that is your print size. That's what you're working with, and you'll be able to load your shirt as is and be able to seal it up with it has a sealer, so you can place the shirt and it stays in place. Once you have the shirt placed on the the platform. You're gonna obviously go to your computer and make sure that your graphics are cleaned up, your line work is ready to go. But obviously you went over that prior. Make sure your artwork is always 300 DPI, and be ready for a full color print shirt with the best quality.
And it's kind of like funny because I said it's you can print low quantities, and the whole point was it's easy setup. Somebody may seem like that didn't seem easy, like that seemed like a whole lot of steps, but in the grand scheme of things, it is compared to other things.
I mentioned that this process does take less than 5 minutes or 5 minutes. So if you're printing a black shirt, it's going to take about 5 minutes or so. Just analyze the shirt. You pull the shirt out once it's done from the conveyor. You cure it by throwing it on the heat press one more time. You fold it and bag it up. If it was a white shirt per se, we only there's two methods actually. A white shirt takes a little bit less time due to only having to print once. As if a black shirt, we would have to lay out a white base color, right?
Right.
And so it's about 5 minutes. A white shirt would take about 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Right.
3 minutes and a half. And it's a huge difference, but it's not time consuming. Aside, as we mentioned, screen printing, one color press or one color print would take you about 45 minutes to get going.
Right. So definitely a huge advantage of DTG is the long-lasting print and durable. You're gonna see. There's plenty of different ways to make a shirt, right? I mean, people are doing, we talked about it earlier before the video, people are doing this heat press vinyl, or they're doing a sublimation, which is, printing on a piece of paper and then transferring the ink off it back to the garment. They're doing silkscreen. There's plenty of different ways, but the biggest difference with the DTG is the feel. It's a soft touch. It doesn't feel like you have a heavy armor, on top of your chest, or like you said before, and it's when you wash it, it's not going to fade. I mean, I have some shirts that I printed some really, really high vis colors, the Mexican flag and I've washed that shirt like 60 times, and the shirt looks so faded black, it's insane. But yet the print itself looks great. I put it on a 111-minute wash. Extra rinse, extra spin. Kind of playing devil's advocate because, like I said, you're going to give these shirts to a customer. You tell them, wash it inside out, wash it on gentle, dry it in. I just did everything you're not supposed to, just to really kind of see what it's actually going to do. And I don't think there's anything to match that you can readily buy that's going to get that type of durability, because you're actually getting a retail quality print. I mean, if I had a Nike shirt that I purchased when I was in high school and I still have it, why does it look that way? Because just now these things are becoming available on a consumer level, versus a multi-billion-dollar corporation before was using the same type of technology.
That's right. That's right. And I agree. As you can tell, the shirts on the back are shirts that I've had for over 2 years, and these are DTG prints. So as you can tell, full color and fully there. There's no cracks. There's no peel. Up close, this is DTG print itself. So as you can tell, the crispy lines and just the cleanness of it. I mean, there's no color fade, the color pops. There's never an issue with the color popping on these shirts. And, and one of the things that I've always advised is, even with your shirts, I don't dry them all the time, but you can dry them.
Right.
Flip them inside out, let them hang dry, and we'll be good to go.
Yeah. Okay, so you want to do the next one?
Sure thing. So another one that we're going to go over is, can we print on light or dark garments? Yes, I kind of went over that a little bit. We can print on any color garments. It doesn't make a difference. Just, the time consumption of being able to print that shirt is different. There's no limitations on DTG and what you can do with it. You can also add different placements. It doesn't have to be the front. It could be sleeve work. It could be, the tag. Now there's new platforms that you could use for that. You can do joggers. I mean, really, DTG allows you to expand your line in a larger way, in a more efficient way as well, and and also having the option of having a full color print. Yes. So that's everything. That's price, that's value, and right now that is what speaks volumes. If it's not screen printing and you're not screen printing more than 500 shirts or 100, that's the way to go.
So the biggest thing I like about DTGs too is that you can duplicate your prints.
Correct.
So, if I was to do a silk screen and somebody to come to me, most of the time, person who wants a silk screen, it's like an electrical company, a roofing company, a landscaping company. They want a durable shirt that's going to last a long time. Most of the time, it's only one color, and they're going to have a shirt that, it's a work shirt. They're going to use and abuse that shirt, and so if I spent all that time, we just said how it takes all this extra time to set up a silk screen print, I'm more or less am going to charge them that $50 to pay for that screen to sit on a shelf. So when they come back to me and say, Rick, I want another shirt, I'm not redoing all that work. I just take that screen out and use it again. And yeah, at times you can have fallout and you may have to make a screen, but those screens will last 3 years. I've had 2 years, 3 years. I've made family reunion shirts, and I can go print a shirt right now. And that screen was 2, 3 years old. But again, that's something also when you're doing a silk screen. A lot of it has to do with your impressions. A lot of it has to do with how you're pulling and pushing that, and then also the inks, how. So there's sometimes what happens is when you give someone a shirt and they come back to you and want the same exact shirt, you have to duplicate or replicate exactly what you gave them before. And that could be hard. There could be variances in that shirt. When you're doing a DTG, because it's not you, it's literally a computer doing it, it's going to be identical. So that shirt that's behind her, that green, when she prints that green, and then her boy sees it and says, hey, I want that shirt, he's expecting it to be that same color green. And what DTG, it's easy to duplicate because once you set it up in the software, it's good to go. I'm not resetting up the margins, resetting up the place. I literally open the file and it's already placed on the shirt, the exact location. So sometimes I may have print 4 or 5 shirts, or that I don't like the color, I don't like this, and all those things that I went through, I don't have to go through again. I've already saved it that way. So when I open it, I just hit print, and that's good to go.
Right. Yeah, and that is, like I said, this is game. This is a huge time saver. There's a huge pro and con in that.
Right.
Sure, for sure. Okay. Low cost prints. One of the bulletins that we're going to go over is low cost prints, CMYK prints. So the ink is about $200, $150, really depending, $175 to $200, the ink cartridge for the DTGs. And so what my cost is for a white shirt, you could say it would be roughly around 35 cents. Okay, depending on how many colors I'm using, how detailed my image is. On black shirts, it's a little bit more expensive. Like I said, we drop the white base first, and then we color print. The second run, first it prints the white base, then it prints the color base. So obviously it's a little bit more cost effective, but it's not a big difference. About 45 cents per black shirt or colored shirt. Now hoodies, I do print the white base twice, just so it looks a little bit more into the garment, and the print comes. The color just looks, it's beautiful. Now that print cost me about 55 cents, but that's just because I don't want to give my client just an okay print, right? If we're doing DTG, why am I not gonna exceed and make, let this machine do what it does?
Yeah.
So, I go out of the way and do 2 bases of white, and that cost is a little bit high, but it's definitely beneficial, and the quality is there. Let's say roughly, if I was to replace all 4 cards and I start brand new, it takes me about 2 weeks, two weeks to empty them out, and I replace them every 2 weeks.
It's funny that you mentioned the doing 2 bases on the white, because Juan actually called me one time. It was like 1:30 in the morning, and I posted something on Facebook, and he was like, "Yo, how are you doing that?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "How the hell is the color popping like that? Like, how many whites are you doing?" And see, so when you're printing on DTG, a lot of times you can use the software that comes with the printer, or you could go out and buy an aftermarket RIP software, and that's what I'm using. I'm using the RIP 9, and the difference between that software is I can literally control the percentage on the color. So and certain colors combine to make a color, right? Because you don't have every color. That's why it's using the CMYK. So I can choose my output of white 300%.
Right.
And then I can choose my output of my color to 200%, scale it back. Or and in DTG too, you can also print. You set the printer to automatically print white and then color. I don't.
Yes.
I personally set it white and I look at it, because if I look at it, I'm like, ooh, I know the difference when if I did a second coat, what's that gonna make? Then I tell it print it again. And had I chose to tell it just print, and it did white then color, I'm like, damn. And I'm not saying, like you said, it doesn't look bad. I've had shirts like, yeah, it looks all right, but I know damn well that if I would have done that extra white, the drastic difference it would have made, how those colors pop and how vibrant those colors are. And like my line's a lot of like Hispanic type things, so if I'm doing a Mexican flag and it's not pop, you may, get some people really angry with you. You're disrespecting the Mexican flag. They want to fight you or something. So yeah, definitely a big thing in choosing, when to do that. And obviously, it's going to be an additional cost to you, but it's definitely well worth it to do that.
Most definitely. I must say, get the best feedback, and why not? It's your company and your name's behind that. Give them the best. Quality matters, and that's what we stand behind.
Yeah.
And that's what any you stand behind, really.
Yeah. Did you just go or did I go? Who was that?
I just went.
Okay. So kind of what we already mentioned is that good color pop on a print. And it's because silk screens, they do have like a lot of different types of inks now that look metallic, look pearl, that that glow in the dark. You can do a lot of these effects. But to get that vibrant color pop, it's not common. Or if you can do it, it's going to be limited colors and extremely expensive ink. But with the DTG, that color you're going to get, that green that's in that shirt, a red that's in a Mexican flag, a maroon. So I always say, I'm big into lowriders and that type of thing. I have a Harley that's painted, custom painted, candy brandy wine, ghost pattern flames. If I was to take a picture of my Harley and I want to put it on my shirt and it looks red, I'm like, that's whack. You know what I'm saying? So I want that color to pop. I want it to look like candy brandy wine. I want you to see the ghost patterns in there. I want you to see the detail. And with DTG, you can literally see that, because those colors are gonna pop. They're gonna look exactly what it is. So that's a big difference and hard to duplicate. Any other way other than doing the DTG print.
That's right. Yeah, I've had some clients really upset about coming in with some prior print work that was totally a different color and didn't look anything like their artwork that they had sent in. And it's easy to kind of say, hey, well, I know where you went, and I know what this done with. It was definitely not screen printed. It was screen printed and not DTG.
Right.
This kind of work, this kind of T-shirt actually needs to be direct to garment printed because it has so much detail. A lot of artists do come into the shop and want to get their clothing line going, and so with their art, this is the best way to go. If you're an artist and your art has a lot of detail, DTG is the way to go.
Yeah.
Just because of that preciseness and detail is beyond what we have capable or available to us right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so now let's go ahead and go over the next point here. Can wet print multicolor? Can we print multicolor? Or?
Yes. What I meant by that is like exactly how you said you can print white and then color.
Right.
Because when you're doing like silk screen, that green behind you on the sign, I may not be able to do wet on wet, meaning that if I printed that green, I may have to flash dry and wait for that to cure and then print the white on top of it, because if I laid my screen right on top of that green, sometimes it'll smear. Or sometimes it won't smear, but I won't get that line, like that fine line. You'll see a fuzz. And maybe your customer doesn't notice it, but I do. And that pissed me off, so I couldn't let that go. That'd be, all right, cool. This is the bottom rack that I have over here, and this is what I'm going to test on. That's what that shirt. These shirts are people waiting to pick up. The bottom, That's my wall of shame. You know what I mean? Like, I want to print something, put that shirt in there, you know? But I think we all got a wall of shame. But yeah, but
Well, that's a very interesting one because this is it's a good question. When I'm printing and say, say I slightly, you can obviously the DTG prints wet on wet. Your wet base is wet, and then you add your color base, and that color base is wet as well. But if you were to move the T-shirt slightly off of a T-shirt platform, you can no longer print on that shirt because now it's going to be unaligned.
Yep.
So yes, you can print when it's wet, but since it's wet, it's going to just smear as well all the colors.
Yep.
So the reason DTG is a platform is because just, a screen printing, but it's sealed, is because if with one slight move, you're off alignment in that image.
So a point of what you made about being off. So that's also another reason that I don't actually print my white and color, because you can adjust the size of the image. So I will tell my white I want it 5%, 7% smaller than my color. And that 5% or 5 to 7%, you can't see with your eye.
Yeah.
So I know that if for some reason that shirt shifts, and it doesn't happen often, but it does. You know what I mean? You're like, damn, because it mostly happens something with an outline. If it has it has an image, it's a circle like this, and then around the edge it's another line. If this line is fat, and all of a sudden this line is, because it's a really thin line, it's only a 1/16 of an inch. So on this side it looks like a 1/16 of an inch, and this line you barely have a line. You're like, oh, and you ruin the whole shirt. So by me saying I'm gonna print it 7% smaller in my white, and then I'm gonna present 0% smaller in my color, I'm overlapping my color over the top of the white, and I know for a fact that if for some reason it does move at all, you won't be able to tell. And I like to do that because when I'm doing a shirt that I'm doing 15 shirts, the same exact one, I'm just grinding. I'm pumping them out, pumping them out, pumping them out, pumping them out. I leave room for margin for error, and by doing that if it does shift, if I am a little off, you won't know. You can't tell. That's just a way of me covering up a mistake that you didn't know I did, or a mistake that the actual printer did. And I do that on most all my prints. And also, that's also how I'm able to. I've had people ask me, like, how did you leave a white line around your image? Like, did you do that in Photoshop? Like, so for instance, on black shirts, like most of my shirts at DTG are all black. Everybody wants black. I don't do a whole lot of white shirts. But certain colors on black, it's hard to see them, because it's black. So like like I said, I did a Mexican skull with I did a skull with a Mexican flag on it. And when I did that, just the color transition kind of looked like, eh. So what I did is actually made the white a certain size, and then I reduced the image by a certain percentage. So I actually left that lip, and that made a difference on how that color's popped. And that's just me, goofing around with the software. And I can do that in Photoshop, or I can do that in Illustrator. But by doing it directly with the printer, it made a big difference in the way that it printed and how it popped the colors.
Yeah. And that's a lot of really good information, Rick. Good information.
Let me see if I... So this is what I'm talking about. So this is the shirt that I washed over and over and over again. You see that line?
Yep.
That's that line I'm talking about, So without that line, it just looked totally different.
Correct.
So
just make it pop. Black garment, I've always had a stroke. I always do ask, hey, do you guys want a stroke? Depending on the artwork. But yes, very, very recommended. I like your shirt, Rick.
Thanks. Representing for Raza right there.
Anyway.
One of the points we were having is, can you print fast? And we kind of did mention that. I think that it's, I don't know, I think we've kind of touched that topic alone. And there's...
As fast as it can. Blacks or colored shirts, 5. White shirts, 3.5 minutes.
Yep.
Or so. With pre-treat from start to finish.
All right, so now it's the dun 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 dun, right? I make fun of everyone saying don't be a pump and dump, don't say the great. So
This is great because I didn't hear about this until you, Rick, but this is a great information for anybody listening out there. Do not be a pump and dump. Rick, I appreciate you bringing this up, and it's very important that people do know that there is misleading information out there in regards to DTG, screen printing, and any type of printing itself. There's a lot of misleading, information, and it's very important that people understand that you have to do the footwork, and that sometimes you just have to figure it out. And that means, what is it that you're doing? And is that person actually doing what you want to do? And seeing if they have a background in that. And it's very important. I never realized it until just, I met Rick, and as an owner of a print shop and, a marketing hub, it is very important to go over this with a client or with anybody starting any type of business, that you have to figure out, what works and what doesn't work for you, and realize that you do have to put in that footwork and get your results, and don't just get hyped up and then forget all about it. Have a hype moment and then forget about it.
Yeah.
Don't let people mislead you. Just, everything is good. Everything's going to be okay. But trust the process, and trust in what you're going through and what you see real life. And thank you, Rick, for bringing that to life, because I see that more and more, in this era and in what we're going through. People are just trying to make a quick buck, or a sell, or a quick whatever, and it's just not fair.
No.
It's just not fair, especially when you're starting. When you're starting and you have nothing to start with. This is just real facts, and it's a pleasure being here with you, Rick. And
thanks.
Meet you, and thank you for putting this together. Because I think that's very important. And for giving me the opportunity. Like I said, I'm new to the YouTube channel, so I appreciate you guys kind of sticking with me and just coping along.
So people don't know this, but we actually got in an argument on Facebook, kind of. And that's the point of these videos, is a differences of opinion. Like, someone's not on my channel because, like, you have to say what I say or you're gonna get kicked off. No, you get in two different points of views of something. That the combined experience of two people who have been doing this for 20 years. That's 30 years of experience that you're getting. And that means that can be a make or break situation for someone starting off in this apparel, because you may go off someone and now you financially can't afford to go a different route. You're stuck with the decision that you made. So a video we just made right before this one, it was 15 things you should know on DTG. It's like a 45-minute video, so now I got a ton of emails of people asking me, what are the pros and cons? And I kind of thinking to myself, like, didn't I say that? But I guess in a sense I really didn't. I just said 15 things you should know. So if you're looking to purchase something that's $30,000, if you can't spend 45 minutes to watch, if you can't spend 45 minutes to watch a video, then you have no business buying a $30,000 machine. When I first got my machine, it sat for like a month, and my wife was pissed. She's like, you spent all this money, you're not using it. And I was like scared and like intimidated by the machine, to be honest with you. And it wasn't the machine itself, it was the maintenance. Like, anyone can hit point click. It was me like watching all these videos and like how to break the machine down, how to clean the print heads, how to clean the lines, how to take the head apart. Like, I wanted to know the ins and outs of cleaning and maintaining it before I even filled up with ink. And when I felt comfortable cleaning it and I knew the parts and I understood it, then I was like, oh, cool. I'm not worried at all. But my whole thing was that the machine's so expensive, you don't know how to maintain it, you're just going to ruin it.
Right. That is very important. Maintaining that DTG printer or your printer itself daily. And that means cleaning the heads, swabbing it out, doing its daily process, cleaning it. It's important. Keeping up to date is extremely important if you care. If you have a bundle of money and you just want to go ahead and try out what it looks like, and that large sum of those $3,500, $2,500 for that head, then go ahead.
Yeah, and if you got that kind of money, you can just donate it to us. We'll put a link in the description, a GoFundMe page for a new printer, and we'll just print it for you. So just putting it out there, because some people got more money than sense.
Right. Hey, right. Exactly.
All right, so let's start the cons.
Okay.
You know, and I made a comment about my Harley and the candy brandy wine, and
Mhm.
you know that when you see a color, that you want it to be the actual color. So sometimes the color you see on your monitor is not necessarily the color you're going to see on the print, and that's not the DTG. That's actually your monitor, because I can send someone an image and you open on your monitor, it looks one way, and open on my monitor, it looks one way, and that's because the monitor itself, the video card you have, and how it's actually going to display it. So,
Right.
so the big thing to me is like if somebody wants to do a color match, to actually look up the hex number for that, you know, instead of saying I want it red. No, tell me I want it 0Y1486111. Okay, and that's legitimately the color. And when you look on a monitor, you're like, man, it looks different. I just told you why, you know. And also, I've designed things, and I print it, and I'm like, man, you know, nope, you know, and I'll play with the color.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with that, and I don't think I ever put my finger on that. That it could be the monitor and this, the specs on the monitor and whatnot. Um, Sometimes I would disagree, and I still was going to disagree right now, but I think that I agree. I completely agree with you. Um, I used to sometimes even say, hey, maybe you're just sending it over on a JPEG and it should be RBG. Or, there's a huge dilemma on what file or format does it need to be in. And so, whether it's RBG, whether it's the proper format, you will always have a color difference from when, like you said, Rick. This is a great example. I said you send me some artwork, it looks great, it looks bright green. You on your side, it's a dim matte green, right? And it all has to do with what we're working with, and so it will never be a consistent color, and you will never know. It could be or could not be, but there's a miscommunication in that whether we talk about it or not. I feel like once the client shows up, they're like, oh well, that looks a lot, it looks a lot more different on my screen. I
Right.
don't think that's the part that I called for, and so that's a miscommunication that we don't even talk about, but it's there.
Right.
And so it's good to communicate that, like you said, hey, I need your hex number, I need the color, the color number. I need to know, specifically what color it is that you're looking for, and that's very important. I completely agree with that. Disagree. Agree with that con, and it can be challenging sometimes. I have had an upset customer before, and was very displeased with the picture, the family portrait, right? The family obviously was a little bit more. It was just not a good picture. Not a good picture. They saw these bright colors when they pick up the shirt. They were totally not the color tone that they were. So
Right.
let's just leave that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did a Mexican band, and their logo looks like gold nuggets, like actual real gold. So they've had it printed plenty of other companies, and it's never looked gold. It always looked yellow because they
Mm-hmm.
weren't printing DTG, and they could never make it look DTG. But the point that you're saying with the colors, I told him like, look, man, you should pay me an artwork fee to fix some of these things that are wrong with it. And it's hard. Like someone's trying to pay you to do something, and you want to criticize the work that they're bringing to you. But I'm like, and at the end of the day, when that shirt leaves your shop, it's your reputation, not theirs. You know what I mean? And if another band, and they're a well enough known band that if another band sees them, they're like, who did that? And now it's like, I didn't do the artwork, I just printed it. So I literally printed the shirt and then changed the colors and printed the shirt. And see, when I send someone a picture of the shirt, like, hey, this is how it looks, exactly like you said. Now they're bringing it up on the email. Oh, it looks great. And I tell them, no, I want you to come to my house. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I want you to see this. Like, I'm not going to send you a message on Facebook. I'm not going to email. No, like, this is gold. Like, I need you to physically see it with your own eyes, the differences in the color.
Especially if you're a batch that's 100
Yes.
shirts in one.
Yes. Yeah, and that was exactly what I was doing, a big batch. So I printed 2 only. I had like 40-something other shirts just sitting there like, I'm not doing that. Yeah, I'm not, And as soon as he saw it, he was like, oh, well, okay, I'll pay you for those 2, but no. I'm like, see what I mean? Like, so you owe me $45 for doing that for you. but
Right.
look at the difference. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, that's fine. So I owe you $45 more because you did have the colors, and I'll buy those 2 shirts. And now I got to give them my daughter because I don't want no one to have them. But he was okay with it before he saw the difference. You know, had I not shown him that, he would have been fine with it. You know, so you know, and I'm doing a realtors companies right now with this black, and it's a well-known realtor logo. And I said, hey, the black's off. They're like, what do you mean? Like, that's not true black. Like, it looks like a gray tone to it. Like, this should be changed. What do you mean? And I printed it because it's a provided logo from the realtor. Like, you know, they can download it because that's their branch. And then I changed the black, and you know that makes a huge difference on it.
And that was a perfect example with the gold. We can't print gold. It comes, you know, bright yellow, or you know, what, some type of tone yellow close to gold. No, no, not close to gold.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a very good example. Let's go here and hit the next con point, which I don't think there's many. Just kidding. Yeah. Like I said, we did go back and forth on the pros and cons, and it was quite interesting, and I appreciate that too, because not a lot of people want to challenge what you do know, and not just challenge, but really just challenge the information, just to share it, and I appreciate that, Rick. Seriously, I keep saying that over and over, but nobody's doing it, you know. No. And if there is, I haven't ran across anybody but you know, that shared that much information online and is for the people. So
yeah,
good,
absolutely.
Good. So have to pre-treat and before printing. Yes, the cons before before printing the shirt is pre-treating. For one, to pre-treat you need a whole other machine, right? So you need a whole other pre-treat machine, and so this itself, you know, costs a good $2,800. Okay, so that's the pre-treat machine itself. Now has nothing to do with the DTG printer. That's a side cost. Okay, and along with the pre-treat solvents, they are around, you know, $50 per gallon, 75 per gallon, and I mean, it's unnecessary expenses, you could say, but it's part of DTG. So this is another expense that you have to be concerned about and aware about. This is you have to have Teflon sheets to also cure the shirt after being pre-treated, so it treats properly. So this is also adding on to more inventory that you need to have and supplies. You know, and like I said, that is time consuming, and it is another part of the process. It's a good 2 minutes, but like 2 minutes or 2 minutes, and it matters. You know, with the black shirts, it's 3 minutes, but it matters, and it is time consuming. At the end of the day, you're putting more time consumption, you're investing more in equipment, and you have now another asset to make sure that it's working properly, and keeping up to maintenance is a whole other ballgame.
Yeah.
Because it's broken down before, and just a service call, you know, $500 to really whatever is wrong with it.
So I've known people that like pre-treat shirts a day before or 2 days, and I've never done that ever. You know, I almost got like an assembly line production. If I like spun this camera around, you see my office, it's like pre-treats over here, dryers over there, DTG's over there, and I got like this assembly line kind of going on, and then I'm sitting at my desk where you see the laptop, and I'm probably working artwork something else, and I'm just like going in a repeat circle. I could probably just spin my chair in a circle and doing that. And then when the shirt's printed, done, I hang it up top up there, you know, and that's how I do it. And I don't know. I'm always nervous about if I pre-treat a shirt and I let it sit. I don't know what your experience is on that.
Yeah. I'm sorry I cut you off, Rick, but yeah, that's a really good question. Actually, we have tried that. We have tried to be ahead of the game. We've tried to pre-treat, and one of the challenges that I face is when having to pre-treat it slightly. Again, if we wanted to do that, we still have to pre-treat a little bit so the specs and the fabric actually open up before we print. But also one of the complications that we ran across was when you pre-treat it, it leaves like a white film.
Yes.
Okay? So we have this white film that sometimes actually bleeds through the print, or or it messes the print in the sense of like the color pop isn't there. Even if you run an overpass of two whites, um, two white base colors, or excuse me, two base white color inks, and it's just we've had a few complications and it didn't seem to work out. We try to really be ahead of the game, pre-treat, and it just really messes up my print. It didn't work out for me, and I do use Epson short color, and so I've never had this complication, and I was like, well, this isn't it. And so I kept trying it in different ways. Maybe it was a 5 hour. I pre-treated, and 5 hours later, I was going to use that shirt, and it still did the same thing. So I had an issue being ahead of the game and pre-treating without, pre-treating and then printing. So now, we just stay as consistent as flow. We pre-treat, we're always pre-treating, printing, pre-treating, printing, until we find a better system. I cannot get past the white film that surpasses the ink after we have printed and cured the shirt. You could tell it's low quality. It just doesn't look the same. The colors don't pop. I've tried several different ways of how to pre-treat and be ahead of the game, but I cannot find something that doesn't give me the result that I'm looking for.
So I actually didn't buy a pre-treat machine. So I used to own a body shop. I painted cars for a while. So a lot of people, when they're telling you like, hey, if you don't have a pre-treat machine, you can buy this Wagner gun. Anyone's ever used a Wagner gun to paint a deck or a fence post?
Yeah.
That is not comparison, and because you can have the best DTG printer, and if you don't do your pre-treat well, it's going to suck. You just wasted all that money. You wasted the shirt. You wasted the ink. You wasted everything. So what I actually did, and I'll do a little video on this later, but I bought this gun from Harbor Freight, and this little thing here, it actually just takes out it takes the water out, so there's none. And then I bought a super quiet compressor. Can't even hear it running in the background. It's ultra quiet compressor. And then I built these platforms out of wood. And what this size is the size of my plate. So the only part that I'm pre-treating is actually the part that's actually being printed on, so that I'm not wasting any pre-treat on any area of the shirt that I'm not printing on. Because a lot of these pre-treat machines, you can set dimensions, but sometimes you get an overspray and you're wasting it on areas of the shirt you're not printing. Or if they hit a line, the seam line, you'll get like a starch mark, a white line in the garment. And yes, it will fall out when they wash it. Yes, if after it sits, it will come out. But the customer look at you funny, like, why do I have the DTG? Why they call it the DTG box or the pre-treat box? So literally this is what I built, just out of 2x4s, and this is actually plywood that's from finished cabinet wood.
As you hold that up, Rick, if your artwork is not covering that whole, that board itself, then you will see whatever isn't covering your artwork. Whatever your artwork isn't covering, you will see the residue of that white film we're talking about on the sides. So if your design is a circle, around the circle, you will see that white film.
So the way I try to get rid of that, is I actually a couple different things. I've never seen anyone else do this. My wife was like, "Why are you doing that? Slide out your steps." Before I pre-treat, I roll the shirts with a lint brush remover, right? And then I have a lint shaver. It's really inexpensive. I bought this on Amazon. I can post a link in it. I think this was like $6. Mm-hmm. It's a lint shaver. And I turn it on and I actually go over the shirts, because if you ever watch the actual shirt go inside your printer, and you can see those little fibers once in a while sticking up, if you're using this lint shaver, the 5 extra seconds it took me to actually use this lint shaver is like drastic differences in how I've seen my prints. And I've seen no one use this on anywhere on YouTube to say use a lint shaver, but so go ahead.
That process that you do, I eliminate it by so when I'm printing now the shirt, so I pre-treated it, now I'm printing the shirt with those loose fibers. What I do is actually, when my white base goes on, I go over it with a Teflon sheet, I place my Teflon sheet over the artwork, and I actually go over it, and we push it down. We make sure that it's nice and pushed down, that all the fibers that are sticking up catch that ink.
Right.
You know, so we push it down, and it does make a huge difference. But that it's key. That fiber, that lint roller fiber, or what is that tool?
It's called a lint shaver.
Lint shaver.
Yeah.
That makes all the sense, because that's what I'm doing in a different way.
Right.
But
so I'm heating this. I press the shirt first, and I always press the shirt because I want to get any moisture out of the actual shirt. And if I look at it, and I literally, if I see like a steam or a raise out of it, I'll do it again. And I'll press it for 35 seconds at 325 degrees, and I'll watch that come out. And the only thing, the shirts that you have to be really careful on is red. Because red's a weird color. Like printing on, ironing, you know, you can burn that shirt, you know, so you'll have a dark. And the other thing is too, when you're pressing a red shirt, you're gonna get that box from when you iron it sometimes, and you're like, whoa, you might freak out. Did I burn that shirt? No, you didn't. Like red's just a finicky color, and it'll fall out. It'll go away. But so what I'm doing is I press the shirt first, make sure I get all my moisture out. And then I roll the shirt to getting lint off, and then I use a lint shaver like I showed you, and then I'm use a lint brush again. Then I actually spray my PreTreat, and then I go back actually after, obviously, but before I press my shirt after it's actually pre-treated, I take a roller, this guy, and I literally run it over the shirt. And then I take a brush and I brush it all the way down. And you'll see even the color of the shirt change because I took this brush and I brushed it all the way down. So I made all the fibers lay one way.
Right.
And then when I press it, since the pre-treat's on it and I brushed it, they all lay flat. So any excess fibers I've already removed, and now all the fibers are in one direction. So it's going to make a big difference too on how that prints, because all your fibers are in one direction. If some are this way and that way, especially the same color may look different in different areas of the shirt just because the directions the fibers are put it in. So just different ways to do different things.
Yeah, right on, Rick. That's very good information. And you know what? Anybody watching this is probably like, well, these guys are getting out of their way to do a little too much. That's what it takes. Sometimes you have to find what works for you. And really, what works for me isn't working it's working, but now that I see this other venture that you're doing, Rick, I want to try that. You know, I want to see if that works for me, and there's nothing wrong with that, you guys. Sometimes you might be doing something that works, right? But if there's an easier way and there's more quality in that, go for it. You know, and I definitely advise everybody and cheer them on doing that, because it's kind of hard to redirect something you've been doing for so long.
Your norm. Yeah.
If Rick is telling me here that the fibers this is going to be a lot better for me, and you know that the print's going to be a lot better, and this and that, but this is the cons. It goes back to it being the cons.
Right.
This is an extra step that Rick has to take to get that DTG print to look good.
Yep.
And it's extra step. You guys saw that he actually started doing that before we actually printing. So good for you, Rick. So
another con is cannot print on polyester garments. So I honestly try staying 100% cotton. I don't know, what you're printing on.
We do 100% cotton. We'll still take anything that's 70% polyester, or 70% cotton and 30% poly. We have not ran with 100% poly, nor do I on it, because I don't. Every time the garment comes to me, hey, can you print on this? Poly is just an iffy thing. You don't want to mess up suits because the ink does not absorb.
Right.
And fibers, like you have mentioned, that really absorb that ink. So the print quality will be definitely low. No color pop. I have ran a run, just to have fun, but not anything close to the results that I'm looking for.
So I have seen someone on YouTube actually do it. And the way he was able to do it was he scaled back the percentage of the prints of the ink. Mm-hmm. But to me, it was like, well, that's the whole reason I wouldn't do it. because now the color is not as vibrant. It doesn't pop. So the colors don't pop. So it's like, yeah, you achieved something that looks like crap. Congratulations. You know, like, no, just.
The poly is so thin, and I mean, he doesn't want the inks to bleed, and that ink will happen. It will bleed out, and you're right. You get a crappy print, and so if you got fried, I mean, I don't know why anybody would do that.
Yeah, it's so there's a saying, it's hard to walk away from money, you know, and there's a lot of people who will, you know, want you to do this or do that, and there's times when you just have to say no. You know, there's times when you say I can't do it. You know, there's times when you say like, yeah, that guy said he can do it, then go ahead and have him do it. You know, there's sometimes you got to walk away from money. Sometimes, you know, it's if you could do it, it's going to be so time consuming it wasn't worth you doing it. Or if you know damn well you can't do it, and then you're being stubborn ahead and try it, you're going to waste so much of your time and money or shirts. Why did you do it? So sometimes you just got to walk away from money, and that sucks, but you have to.
Yeah, definitely agree. But aside from that, it's better you do than to put a bad name out there, you know. And people care for you. That's why they come to your business. If you don't care for that, they're not gonna come back. You know, and if you want to be successful, that's what it is. I mean, just deliver the quality you promise.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's go ahead and this next one. These are really good points there, Rick. Printer maintenance. Now, there's a huge con because every time I look on a printer, it feels like, well, I do the maintenance, but it doesn't. So, you know, because we run it so often, you know, no matter how clean you try and keep it, no matter what, it just looks like really nothing. So it's kind of scary to know that yearly. I think it was every 2 years. Now it's been every 2 years I've had a head with the head replaced. I've had the head replacement once due to dry inks. Some of the hoses are clogged. I mean, there's just a lot of inner maintenance on top of the maintenance that you have to keep up with. Yeah. And the problem here is that the main maintenance I feel like we have to get into, we're not able to, because that's how they pick up their 2 yearly or yearly warranty. And it feels like because it is by year or every 2 years, there's like an issue with the head.
Right.
And I have that coming, you know, so I'm aware of it, and it's very fragile to just work with the printer itself. You know, I'm not saying be scared, but just be up to date. The maintenance, you can do it as well as you want, the best, but there still will be some more maintenance.
Right. So I think some things have a consumable lifespan, right? Like you said, the print head. You know, it doesn't mean it's a low quality printer. Like there's a life expectancy, right? But there's certain maintenance things that you can do to actually say, you know, it's going longer. Another guy I saw on one of the channels that I talk to all the time, 8 months into his printer, he replaced the head. It was an Omni DTG, and I said, 8 months? He's like, yeah, man, you know, I print a lot of shirts. I said, 8 months? Whoa, you know, and I've only had my DTG for 2 months, maybe a little over 2 months, and I'm thinking to myself, 8 months, no way in hell, you know. And I was like, dude, and I kind of jumped off, you know, YouTube because I don't want to, you know, start blasting them, but sending a message privately like, how the hell is that possible, you know? And I just don't think that not everyone understands the type of maintenance, the routine maintenance that you're doing. So I know I'm early on in owning my machine, but I have 2 different type of maintenances. I'm doing my weekly maintenance and then a monthly maintenance, and I have different types of solvents. So I do things differently than what I saw someone doing. It's like my background's help desk tech support, so a printer is a printer, right? So a lot of the problems we had was with print heads. It doesn't matter if it's DTG or it's a regular, it's the same damn thing. Why people call in time and time and time again. So I use my background to say, well, how was I able to solve that in the past? Well, now I gotta plug my laptop in real quick, it's gonna die. Hold on, sorry. Should have had it plugged in. All right, I'm back. So what I did is I just went on eBay and I bought some cheap refillable cartridges. Okay, because everyone makes like some people, when they buy their DTG, they're actually buying the brand of ink that's actually made from that manufacturer. But there's a whole slew of different inks that are made aftermarket that are 4 years, but they'll be brand specific. Like they'll say this is a certain brand ink, but it says for Brother, it says it's for Epson, and they're for a reason, because inks are made obviously as an ink, but they're also used as a lubricant, and they have things inside of it that actually get the printer working well. So what I did is, a lot of people who are buying those aftermarket inks, they can't use the actual cartridge that comes filled from the manufacturer. So they're having to buy these cartridges to put that ink into it. So what I did is I just bought those cartridges, and what I'm doing is I'm literally taking the cleaner solvent and putting it into that cartridge. So when I say print head clean, what it's actually doing is it's not running my ink. I'm not losing my money by spitting literally my ink out. Only thing I'm shooting through my printer is solvent cleaner.
Right.
And I'm running it through, until what comes out is clear. So I know that I've emptied my printer, and I don't see a lot of people doing that, and then there's a cleaner. It's called 911. It comes in a cough bottle. Looks kind of like codeine. Yeah, I'll show it to you. But and I'll put the links in the description. Some of these things, and when I smell these cleaners, they honestly smell like Windex. And you start Googling like what, and it's funny because most companies, when you sell a chemical, by law they're supposed to have like this label that tells you what's on it, just in case you ingest it or get in your eye. They're not telling you, so I'm pretty damn sure that it's some type of Windex, maybe mixed with something else, a water-based chemical, right? And the stronger ones have an ammonia in it, and that's what's removing it. But so the strong one, once a month, I'm actually just injecting those cartridges. I'm running a print head clean, and I'm cleaning it out so it's actually completely clear. And then in my weekly, I'm putting the regular solvents in there. And then the other thing that I'm doing is the wet cap system. The whole idea is those sponges cannot dry, right? So if that wet cap gets dry, you're screwed. So if I know I'm not going to use my printer I never let my printer sit over 3 days. If I know that for some reason it's going to sit, then what I'm doing is I'm taking those cartridges that are filled with that solvent and I'm putting them in, and I'm taking my other cartridges out. So what's sitting on top of my cap is actually that solvent. And I'm not going to use my printer today. I can run and go hit print head clean, and all it's doing is just running that through really quick, so that it's keeping everything clean. It's keeping everything from drying. So that's the system that I do to try to prolong it. Again, I'll have to say, like, yeah, I was smarter. I was a dumbass a year from now to see what was the long term of that. But so far, I haven't seen anyone at all do that on YouTube of maintaining it. And I think that's kind of, I'm going to stick with that. I think it's working so far.
Yeah, I don't go that extra mile, and maybe that mile would help me with another year of having a head without being replaced. And I mean, I just do the daily clean out, or the daily head clean. We do the daily. And the good thing about these DTGs is that it actually allows you to click. There's a menu, and you go in there and you actually set it up to power clean the DTG, or basic moderate clean the DTG. Aside from you cleaning the heads, right. But what you have brought up is a good point, and getting out of your way and making that extra effort to keep your heads nice and fresh. Figure out all your solvents from the prior print work. I mean, all of that is great, and you do that monthly. You said, correct? So
I do there's two different detergents. Let me just grab a second, show you.
That there is two different detergents. Let's not forget that.
So this is the regular one that I'm using. Let me go to the light.
Okay.
So it's from Garment Printer. What is this? garmentprinterinc.com. It's just a cleaning solution. And like I said, this is what I'm injecting. This is what I'm putting in the cartridges. And if you were to smell this, it smells like Windex. You know, it's a water solvent, so it's you know, it's not gonna. Basically, the whole point of this, if for some reason this is a little bit left in your system and some ink came through, it's not gonna ruin it. It's not gonna ruin your inks. It's so. That's the whole thing about it, is that if you're using a foreign product, a foreign chemical, what will happen with the chemical reaction? What will happen when you reintroduce your ink into it? So once I put my ink, I'll do the purge and let it push through. Poof. So then I know that if there's any remainder of this chemical in it, that when I go to print a shirt, it's not 50% chemical and 50% ink. So I purged it, you know. And then this is the stronger one, and I kind of laugh, but it looks like a codeine bottle. Right? Print Head Clean 911. And this, if you smell this, this has a lot stronger of an ammonia smell. So I think this is just a stronger, you know, stronger chemical. Now, if I was to use this maybe on a weekly basis, maybe it could just start to deteriorate that sponge. You know, maybe it's too strong of a solvent. So I'm not necessarily sure that I would use this every single month, you know, every single week. But what they're saying with that, the 911, is that if you do have a clogged print head, that you can actually take the print head out, put it in like a little Rubbermaid, dump the solvent in there, and just leave your head in there for 2 hours. And that solvent's so strong that just by getting inside of it, it's actually cleaning it. And you don't have to buy a new print head for $1,200 just by using this and let it sitting there. So I wanted just the extra step and said, wait a minute. That's cool. I'm glad that it works. But why would I wait for that to happen? So I'm doing preventative maintenance. So my whole idea is like, oh, well, cool. If that exists and it works, that's cool. But I'm going to do preventative maintenance to try to make that not happen. Or if and when it does happen, that it's a lot longer than it, you know, than normal. But I've heard anywhere from, like I said, eight months to a year to 2 years. You know, time will tell how long mine will last because of doing that, but just by seeing the amount of stuff that comes out, I know that it works. I know that it works.
Wow, that's interesting. I'm actually sitting over the first version, and I didn't want to invest on a head swap, so I might just try that, and I'll let you know how that works.
Yeah, and those cartridges on eBay, I mean, they're cheap. You know what I mean? And what I mean by cheap is cheap in price and cheap cartridge. You know what I mean? So if you actually were to use an aftermarket ink and you didn't want to use it so you could refill it, then buy the more expensive ones. But if you're just using it to put a solvent, buy the cheapest ones you can find. You know, like $1 something, or, you know, $3 a piece, because you will see a difference. You'll see that some of those, they're like $3 a piece, and you'll see some that are like $28 a piece. And the ones that are more expensive, they have like caps in them. You know, the little sturdier made. You know, sometimes the cheaper ones, I have one of my cartridges that leaks a little. But again, like if that was ink in there and it was leaking, I'd be pissed. Like that would be a huge mess to clean up. But the point is, what I'm using it for, and I spent $1 something on it, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, it's, you know, so. But like I said, if I was buying the empty cartridge to actually put ink in and I was going to use it, buy the more expensive ones. If you're just using for the solvent, buy the cheapest ones you can find. You know. Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So, yeah, this video's come a long way, and I think that, you know, so let's see, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 key points that were pros, and 1, 2, 3, 5 key points that were cons. So,
Right.
and like I said, differences of opinion, we didn't always agree on everything, but I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons.
Yeah, I would agree. I say DTG is the way. You know, I somebody that's been printing for 15 years. I started screen printing, and then I, you know, started doing vinyl and started getting the hang of, you know, screen printing, then vinyl, then car wraps, and I mean that kind of gets out of the content. But I must say that the DTG allows me to print no minimum shirt, excuse me, an order of no minimums allows me to get a job done, depending on the quantity, pretty quick. It's not too time consuming, as we spoke about. Yes, it's a little bit, we gave you the ratios and the time, but in all reality, there's no time consumption to make it happen. There is, many challenges you'll face. Obviously, setting yourself up to print, getting the right laying out your fibers and all of this and that. But don't let this overwhelm you. Anybody watching this, the pros were there, the cons are there, but don't let it overwhelm you. Just do it. Just do it. But also research Rick Ramirez, and then you have great information on how to maintain with your DTG and really any other pros and cons. He's a great guy. Haven't met him for long, but everything that we want to say is facts and is real. And these other tips that you had, Rick, I didn't know about. And so I learned a lot from you today too, and how to maybe save some money in my business.
Yeah.
And it's a pleasure working, being here and on this video. And I want to tell anybody that is looking forward to getting a DTG, don't feel afraid working with it, getting to know the machine, the printer itself, even with the software, very easy to use. That's one of the pros that we didn't go over really.
Yep.
But software to be able to print is very easy and simplified for anybody ready to get to work.
So one thing I just want to mention too is that no one mentions their screw ups, right? Everyone has this real nice prints, and they're like, "Hey, look at this, look at that," and you're like, "Damn!" And you don't realize that when you first got your printer, how much you bumped your head against the wall, and how many shirts you messed up by misaligning, and when you first start, you're gonna ruin some shirts. You're gonna ruin some shirts for sure, and you're definitely gonna get used to the software. So like I said, you see behind me, I just have a rack. The top is all stuff ready to get picked up. The bottom is my wall of shame. And literally what I want to do is, if I come out with a new design, because we're talking about these colors and how they look, and I want to see how it actually prints, you don't have to print a full back piece, a full chest piece, even though that's actually what it's going to be. You can print a little small design right here on this shirt, and see how it looks. Oh, it looks like crap. Okay, cool. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change that. I'm going to print it here. I'm going to print it here. I'm going to print it here. And then eventually you're going to have a shirt with 40 different things printed on it. And guess what? I have shirts that I've printed all in the front, all in the back, the sleeve, flipped the shirt inside out, and I did it all over again. But that shirt is literally for me testing things. So yeah. So just get familiar with your printer. Know there's pros and cons. And I don't want to seem like a broken record with the pump and dump, but there's a lot of people who are just going to give you information to pump you up. I don't know if I want to say it, but there's a company that's out there right now. They're investing a ton of money in Facebook advertisements, and they're just advertising these videos. Are you at home right now? Are you not working? Are you financially struggling? For $400 a month, you can start your own home-based business, and you can make $5,000 to $7,000 a month. And I'm not saying that's not possible, but that's not practical. Someone who's just buying this DTG printer, if you think that you're gonna all of a sudden make $7,000 a month, no. We've been doing this a long time, and I tell you, I don't even ask you finances, but I guarantee you, you're not making $7,000 every month. Always. There's gonna be good months. There's gonna be bad months, and if you're buying a piece of equipment that you can't afford unless you made that kind of money, don't buy it. You have to be able to afford the equipment if you made zero. Matter of fact, forget zero, negative, because remember what we said. You bought the machine. Great. It doesn't work, right? Why? Because you need ink. What else? You need shirts. You need a whole slew of things before you even use it. And then, if you buy this small, so just live within your means, spend within your means, be realistic of what you think you can spend and afford. If we have an Epson, doesn't mean, you have to get an Epson. If there's a cheaper DTG that's out there that costs less but a lot less bells and whistles, and that's you got to start with, and that's the only way you to get in the game, then that's what you got to do. But the other thing is networking. I'm not poster child on both of us and say that, hey, this is why we made this video, but you could reach out to her and say, hey man, I got this design, can can you print 10 of these shirts? How much would it charge me? And by networking with the smaller mom and pop, it's going to give you a lot better of an advantage versus going to a Redbubble or going to a Print Tee or going to some of these other things, because they're going to give you the opportunity to get something cheaper without having to purchase 100 shirts. Because again, the whole reason you decided to go that other avenue was because you didn't have the money. So now I'm not saying that you couldn't get someone to make it for you, but they most of the time want a bigger quantity purchase for you to get that cut that you're gonna flip your money, that you may think it's worth your while. So,
right. And also when looking into what maybe next, maybe DTG isn't for you. Maybe you want to focus on screen printing because you're focusing on a whole different project.
mm-hmm.
So all that, maybe you're gonna run a bunch of one-color prints. It has a lot to do with. I had a buddy of mine that focuses on U-Haul, the U-Haul companies, and he prints for U-Haul and whatnot. And so he didn't realize that he didn't need to DTG because his print is 3-color print. It's not maxed out. It's a 3-color print, so he's very well aware of him. He knows now that he could have screen printed instead of DTG, and it would have been a lot more cost effective if he was to go screen printing from the get. But now, he invested a good $45K. Now this is where he's at. He's doing DTG, as opposed if he wanted to do the 3-color print, he could have got a 4-color print setup. He would have been ready to go with a good $2,000.
Yeah.
And you're good to go.
Yeah.
And so that knowledge is also very important before you make the decision of what you want to do. Not just because, always remember, well, what do you want to do with what are you specifically going to print? What are you going to focus on? What may be more beneficial for you? Question yourself.
So just kind of thinking ahead, I think that we've touched a lot of topics, but I already other see things that we can circle back. So I think that probably our next videos, I think we should do a comparison, like, when should you use the DTG? When should you use a silkscreen? When should you use a sublimation? When should you use a heat press? I think that every single piece of equipment has a time and a place, and that there's certain unique reasons why you'd use a particular piece of equipment. Good point what you brought up when, I first started, one of my big first customers was Epson. I mean, not Epson, Sprint and Nextel. And, I was doing banners and things like that. And again, like you said, I went and bought a 57-inch vinyl plotter, when I was doing something really small. I didn't need to do that, but I just, you get caught in the hype, I'm printing corrugated boards that are how big, and I got a 57-inch, you know what I mean? But like, so just don't get caught in the hype, live within your means. If you can afford it, go ahead. I get it. Go ahead. Because you don't want to buy something and later have to purchase something else, because you've outgrown that piece of equipment. And there will be times like, I love my Epson DTG, but I've already seen Epson advertise over and over again this new commercial one, the auto adjust heights and all this stuff for hoodies and jackets, and I'm like, oh no, stick with this for a while. You know what I mean? But
yeah, if you don't mind me asking, we'll probably talk more on this on the next channel, on the next episode, and we'll kind of keep them waiting. But let's go over some print. Maybe we can put the next course on maybe what we do have, what we're working with, and kind of explain the difference between all of that. Because even somebody starting is doing vinyl, right? Just heat pressing vinyl, and that may not be, and it's a one color, right? So if you give them the cons of vinyl and screen printing, and if it's one color, they would totally, spaz out, because this cracks within a week and this doesn't crack.
Right.
So with that simple knowledge, I mean, it is everything. I mean, it's everything.
Yeah, I have silk screen shirts that I did in '98. They look a lot tighter on me, and a little faded. But the silk screen looks really good. The shirt shrunk, I swore, Fucking bansa, what can I say? But but just, I just want to thank our viewers for enjoying this time with us. Know that we're really gonna, there's certain things I was talking about on my channel, there's certain things I wasn't. And I'll be completely honest with you, it's because people try to mimic you. And this is why there's certain things that we will share on YouTube about this industry, and there's certain things we won't. For instance, her shirt with that design in the background with the sign, people will steal your artwork, people will steal your concepts, people will steal your ideas. And there's certain designs, if you went through all that trouble to steal that, that's fine. Go for it. Good luck. You spent 7 hours and it's not going to look the same. You know what I mean? And I appreciate you trying to bite off me. That's why I kind of showed that other skull thing, you know. But then there's also, if you have stupid sayings or geeky sayings, you know, that we got to be careful of our own. And at the end of the day, this is the business. This is how we're providing for our families, providing for ourselves. And there's certain things that I'm not willing to share, and maybe she's not willing to share, and it's because we're protecting our income. But there's a lot of information that we're going to get readily available to you that no one's really going to tell you, you know. And like I said, we don't have an alternative motive of why we're telling you to do something a certain way. So if you're you're already doing DTG, there's still something you can learn. There's an old saying: the day you think you know everything in your field, it's the day you should get out of it, because that means you're not willing to learn something new. So whether someone who's doing some 15 years, someone doing some 6 months, there could be something that you didn't know you learned. So just because you've been doing DTG a long time doesn't mean this is not a good idea to watch. You know, if you have been doing DTG DTG a long time, you may say, hey, Rick, you know, hey, Val, can I jump in on this video with you guys? I got some input I want to put in too. So if you're also an influencer and you see these videos and you think you'd have valuable content to contribute, reach out to us. You know, I'd be glad to add you to this collaboration. And let's just see where this journey begins. And if you have questions, things we're not covering, write in the comments. I'll list most of our email addresses and contacts. You can reach out to us. You know, we'll just keep going. I think this is going to be a pretty long series. It's a big topic to try to talk about.
Right on, Rick. Yeah, I agree. And thank you for having me. Thank you, and everybody that did. Thank you, whoever did make the time to watch us today and, you know, get some info. You're on the right path. You're taking that time to get some knowledge, and that's what it's about, you know, to start with. And writing down some tips and taking some notes, it's all what it's about. You know, we're here to push anybody and everybody and really just share the information. It's all love. I hope that everybody was able to kind of understand where I was coming from in regards not ever having a YouTube channel and just now starting up on my YouTube channel, having patience on the way I communicate things, but I'm working on that. Thank you, and it doesn't stop me from hustling and communicating. So thanks for making the time. It means a lot. And Rick, thank you for making the time to make this happen, because it's hard. It's hard to find people that are genuinely, and let's mention this, I mean, we're both out of different states.
Yeah.
We don't know each other. I mean, we know each other virtually, but we've never met each other. Right. And so this levels and volumes and value. Networking is the key. Networking is key. You can have all the equipment you want. You can do it all. But if you're not networking, marketing like you're supposed to, and being genuine about it, there's only so far that you can do aside from locally. Right. You know, and really I think that everybody, I could be wrong or not, but wants to either have a line or a business that is worldwide. Why not? Yep. Why not? So thank you, Rick, and my info will be below. I appreciate you, and I'm excited for the next segment, whatever that looks like. And thank you. No,
I appreciate you joining me. Appreciate you putting your 2 cents in, and you know, and for saying really what you feel. You know, whether you agreed with me or not. You know that, like I said, that gave a difference of opinion. So. Yeah. So thanks for watching. God bless everyone. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And reach out to us if you need anything. Thanks again.